I'm joined now from New York by Jim Whitaker, a Henry Crown Fellow at the Aspen Global Leadership Network. He recently produced a documentary on the rebuilding of Ground Zero, which will become a permanent fixture in the Ground Zero Museum. Thanks very much for joining us today on 9/11. And I'd like to just find out, first of all, tell me a little bit about the film. What should we expect? We're seeing some clips now of the time-lapse sequence.
Well, just about 8 years ago now, I installed some cameras at Ground Zero, film cameras, that have been taking a frame of film every 5 minutes, 24 hours a day for the past 8 years, capturing the rebuilding of the site from a distance, but also as time progressed, close up, to be able to see the evolution of the site through the Path train station to the building of building number 7 and to the, the formation of the memorial, which is in progress right now.
It's an amazing sequence to watch. I mean, it's fascinating. How many cameras involved?
Well, we started out with 3, triangulating the site, and then 3 eventually turned into 6, and now there's 14 cameras in and around the site at high angles and also at low and close angles, just capturing both the wide and the very specific close shots of the building as it progresses.
So you literally are capturing the rebirth, if you will, of that hallowed ground down there in Lower Manhattan. What was in your mind, Jim, when you started out with this project? What were you hoping to achieve?
Well, I went to Ground Zero about a month after September 11th with my wife, and I had said to her that I wanted to go there because if one day in the future when we had children, I was given the opportunity to tell them about what happened, I wanted to be able to say it and say it from my own experience. So when I went down there, I saw the debris and the wreckage, and as I looked at it, I felt this sense, of course, of dread and anxiety, but I started to think, wow, one day this place is going to look very different. And if it did, what would that feel like? What would that look like? And I had just a tiny kind of upswelling of hope. And it was this idea that if I could do a film that could compress what was actually happening, that you could take an audience from this sense of real fear and anxiety to a place of feeling some hope. And that's really the idea behind the film. It's a film about the reconstruction of the site, but it's also, I've been following the lives of 10 people who were affected by the day and charting their emotional growth and emergence from grief. So in a way, it's kind of a testament to the resilience of the human spirit.
9/11 touched so many people across the country. Of course, we know, it took nearly 3,000 lives there in New York. How did you decide which 10 people? What would be a representative sample? Who were you going for?
Well, I was trying to sort of think about who was affected in a kind of 360-degree perspective. So, for example, a fireman who lost many of his friends, a woman who was on the impact floor where the plane hit but survived, a police officer who was in charge of fresh kills, a woman who lost her fiance, a young boy who lost his mom. In many respects, I was just trying to think about it in the way the cameras actually are set up. I was looking around the site and setting the cameras up in a way to kind of cover it in the same way I was thinking about the emotional toll that had happened and a humanistic toll, and thinking how could I cover it from as many perspectives as possible.
Kind of interesting in looking at the time-lapse sequence, you see kind of the physical redoing, but what about the whole emotional redoing of the people involved? I mean, you're trying to get at that too.
Yeah, and it's really important. I mean, honestly, it's been amazing to watch. It's a year-by-year, incremental and at times very dramatic movement from a coping that you see to almost to a healing that starts to take place as these people who had experienced this extraordinarily difficult thing begin to start to approach it and kind of attack it to try and begin to heal. And so in that process, you slowly start to see the resilience come into play, and then you see the emotional, kind of upswelling of them as they get beyond it, to the extent that that's possible.
When people view the film, I mean, obviously very powerful, it's still raw emotions for many people. What do you want them to have as their takeaway? What do you want people to learn from this film?
Well, honestly, it's a lot like when I went down there. The word I was not able to use so much in the very beginning was hope. And the truth is now, as this time has passed, as the years have passed, the notion of actually saying that there could possibly be hope that could emerge from this is actually something that I think is possible, and I think the film certainly demonstrates. It also just demonstrates the resilience of the human spirit, how human beings have an incredible ability to deal with something incredibly difficult and then somehow survive, and in some cases, and in many cases, even thrive through it. So for me personally, it's just been remarkable to watch that healing process, both with the people and also, really with the site. The site has come along in a great way.
Well, you call your effort Project Rebirth, and I think that's probably the best way to sum it up.
Yeah, well, it's very true. There's a rebirth that's happening there, and certainly with the subjects of the film, there's a rebirth that's happening with them, and that's the emotional and physical balance that the film is really capturing, and we'll have it for release in the next coming years. So look forward to bringing it out to the world. Well,
thanks for taking time today. Thanks for sharing some of the clips. Very fascinating. We look forward to seeing the full film.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me.
All right.